to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we accept the agenda, I think this might be your last meeting then?
For now, yep.
A little tear in your eye?
A little bit.
We are going to miss you.
Thank you.
And I want to personally thank you, not only for your good humor, but also for your very introspective comments on our agendas and on our rules, and giving us a nice amount of information, particularly in the area of land use and in the use of conservation and development. And I'm going to miss your presence, and I want to thank you sincerely for being part of our board. And I hope you consider joining the board another time, when the time is right.
And I may come up to the podium, but thank you.
Do you have a few words you want to say?
I'm not too worried leaving. It looks like you guys are going to be in good hands. Congratulations to everybody that won again. I guess there's only one seat. It's getting recounted, so we'll see what happens there. But no, I'm not worried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll invite you back when the new board is installed, so that we can say a proper adieu.
Thank you, Susan.
You're welcome. But as you said, you won't be a stranger to us. Please come back often.
Thank you.
And I want to say congratulations to the rest of the board. Each of you, and myself included, were reelected to the board. And as Ben pointed out, there is a recount. There's only a difference of, I think, 9 votes. Yeah, am I right? That Michael Hernandez and is in the lead at this point, and Andrea Alfano is just 9 points behind. So the town clerk, Mr. Curley, will be reviewing this. He's been in consultation with the Secretary of State's office, because there may be a question for some of the one Board of Education seat as well. And I don't know that that determination has been made. There is an automatic recount, according to Ryan, if your 20 votes or less separate you. There is 21 votes that separate, I believe, Mr. Lavoie and Ms. Christensen. Furthermore, it's 1/2% of the votes that have been counted. If the difference is more than 1/2% of that total, then there would be another automatic recount. That number doesn't seem to meet that measure, but because it's so close, with 21 as opposed to 20, he's going to give it a little more consideration, and I think he was going to speak with the respective parties to see if there was an interest in also having a recount in that particular seat. So as of 4:30, I didn't have an answer, so stay tuned. Any recounts have to happen by Wednesday, a week from today. So the town clerk's office and our registrars should be commended. They did, I thought, a tremendous job yesterday running the election. And it's not just the day that they run the election, but it's all the work they do up to and including. I want to thank the schools. Linda Martin does a tremendous job. I know, Don, you work with Linda quite a bit, and she really kept us organized. And the grounds crew and public works and our fire department and emergency management made sure everybody was very safe as they entered and exited. The police did a nice job. I think all in all, it went well. Any comments from the selectmen on?
And project graduation, they had a nice fundraiser.
That's right.
Yeah, nice fundraiser.
Great location. My kid decided to buy most of the cupcakes, but it was
Yeah, they were.
I don't think it was just a kid.
Like I really needed all those donuts.
Yeah. I think it was great to have a nice turnout. The turnout was up. That was really nice.
Yeah, what
to
was
see.
the percentage?
Was it 44%?
I think it was
46.
Yeah,
I think it was more than
44%.
That's pretty good, because I was hearing on the news, like some towns were like, I think under 10% or something. Really some low numbers on a few towns of
No,
turnout.
we had a great turnout. And a lot of families came. It was
Yes.
just
Yeah,
a
it
lot of
was
families.
nice seeing
Kids.
families coming with their kids.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I think that's really sending the right nice message to their children. Getting in the habit of voting.
But I just wanted to say that the traffic flow was different, and it was much better. But the fact that the people came in, and if they were voting, they went immediately to the right. And then when they left, they didn't have to go back down the same road. They went on Butler Road, and I thought that whoever decided to do that, I think that was a good job. And I think during the 2020 election, since this was a trial run, that maybe we should do that again.
Yeah, good suggestion. I thought it went very well, and congratulations once again to those in the room that were reelected, and also those who were reelected and elected to the other seats. And I know that this is said often, but I don't think it can be said often enough, and that is thank you to everybody who chooses to put their name out there and get on a ballot. Whether you win or you lose, you're serving your community, and I think it's very important for everyone to be aware of that, and I want to thank everybody for running. The best comments that I heard yesterday, I thought, was that people feel that they're respected, particularly as they went to vote, and that we are respectful of one another's opinions, and that we really don't have a lot of infighting in our town, and we try very hard to make sure that people's opinions are heard and respected. It's not always easy to keep your mouth shut and listen, but I think this board has always done that, and as has previous boards of selectmen, and it was so noted. So I wanted to give the selectmen that feedback. I think you can't say enough good things about how you've been conducting yourselves, as well as all of our employees. So thank you very much. On that note, I also wanted to let you know about something which, to keep your interest peaked, that won't be until number 5. So the next item would be acceptance of the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Is there a
Second.
Seconded by Rick. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Acceptance of minutes for the regular meeting of October 16, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. And the special meeting of October 25, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Under communications and correspondence, I see Kitch is here in the audience tonight. And Elwin Giles, Kitch, and I, and Mary Dickerson. And is there anybody else that was with us that day? I think it was just the 4 of us. We were presented with a very beautiful plaque that will hang outside the land use office. And I will read it after I show it to everybody. It's really a beautiful plaque that we received in Bridgeport at a beautiful facility. It's really nice. It's best practices for economic development and land use planning. And Portland has been made a 2019 certified community, and it was presented by the Connecticut Economic Development Association, of which Portland is a member. So it's really quite an honor. And Mary Dickerson, our development planner, put the application together. I understand it was a multi-page application. And Kitch, I'd invite you as a member of our Economic Development Commission to say a few words if you'd like.
It was truly an honor to be selected, to have Portland selected. I think we figured it out in the ride to Bridgeport that we were in the top 10% of towns in the state. So it's really quite a feat, and I think we have reason to be proud of mostly of the work that Mary does. Her in-depth knowledge of planning and development guides us so well for the whole committee. We were in a beautiful facility. I don't know if any of you have been to the redevelopment of the harbor in Bridgeport. It's gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. They've done remarkable work. It makes you think about what can be done on a riverfront with a budget that would be endless. But it was a lovely afternoon, and it was great to be honored. But Mary really receives the most kudos for the work that was done behind the scenes. So enjoy it. And we talked about where it should go, and we decided that it should be in the main floor outside the office, so that anybody that comes into the building has the opportunity to see it and say, "Raw Portland." Thank you.
Thank you. The other award that we recently received is that Portland is a sustainable CT town. You've heard me talk about that, and some of you have served on the committee to review the many aspects. I believe there's 9 or 10 categories under which we had to have at least one activity. And we have attained over 300 points. There was a necessity for 200 points. And we are now a bronze certified town. And I hope that next year we can be a silver certified town, because it's really very, very important for us to become more sustainable in the use of our resources and other aspects of our town. So Jim and I attended that. Jim, I don't know if you want to add a few messages about that sustainable CT.
Yeah, I mean, it was a nice presentation with other towns and getting a chance to talk a little bit about some of the things other towns are doing for their qualifications, and then also see them kind of put some information out there trying to prod you along and just try to help move, towns move towards, more sustainable models and doing things that are going to have that positive impact going forward. So we definitely learned that we have a good shot at, I'll say a good shot because we have to set those goals at silver. We have to, we'd have to focus on it, but it was a very good evening.
Thank you. So I think that if the minutes could just reflect these 2 awards, that would be helpful. Thank you. And congratulations to all. A lot of volunteer help. Public comment. The monthly budget report,
Public.
I'm sorry, Kitch. You're next.
Kitch Breen Cernicki, 435 Main Street. I'm here to say congratulations to all of you and keep up the good work. I think the town's pretty well positioned right now to look at some great things in the next couple of years, and I think you all have an opportunity to make those things happen. And I wanted to say goodbye to Ben, just for this role in your life, Ben. I came on to the Board of Selectmen and you were here. And I was always and continue to be impressed with the breadth of your knowledge and your willingness to share it and your willingness to make hard and good decisions. And I think you'll be missed. And I think that probably this isn't the end for you, and I'm hoping it's not the end for you, but that you'll be back to share even more of your knowledge and your experiences. I know all of you give your best every time that you're here, but to see somebody leave that's been on for so long and really has a keen insider's look at some of our problems and how to best solve them will be a loss. Now, will it get filled in some way? Absolutely. But thank you for your time, thank you for your knowledge, and thank you for being willing to answer questions.
Thank you, Kitch. Very nice, thank you.
I would have done this a while ago. Everybody's been staying at the
If that's all it took me to come around.
Thank you.
We don't have a monthly budget report. Tom Robinson was unable to attend tonight. He's actually in the middle of the audit and felt that he would be better served in that capacity tonight, and he will be visiting with us next month.
Next month or next meeting?
Usually next month,
Okay.
unless you want him to come. We typically do it the first Wednesday of the month, and our next meeting is the 19th, which will be your installation. So if you want that, at that time we can, or we can wait until December 4. I don't know what date it is.
Could we possibly just get them a little earlier so we can look at them?
I will speak with Tom about that. What he likes to do is give you he's explained that. He gives you the most up-to-date report as of the day that he gives it to you. If you get it earlier, it won't be certainly up-to-date. That's his style.
All right, maybe
That's what he likes
could
to
he
do.
give us the November report?
Sure, I will ask
So
him to do that.
even though we won't see him till December, at least we'll be able to look at
Sure,
what
I will ask
we
him.
might have seen tonight.
I will do that.
Okay.
Thank you. The next item, number 8, is to consider an act on the 11th Amendment of the Purchase and Sale Agreement I had not brought this to you for the Brownstone Avenue purchase because we didn't know the date of the actual closing. The date of the closing was the 1st of November, so I had to approve a slight amendment to that purchase and sale agreement that the closing would occur on November 1. So, as is the custom, I bring back to you the fact that the purchase and sale agreement was modified in any way. That was pretty much the only change to it. So if I could have a motion to, it's just to acknowledge to you that the closing happened November 1, and that you now are the town of Portland is the owner of the 5.2 acres on the river.
So moved.
Is there a
I'll second
second? Seconded by Jim. Any further questions, discussion, comments?
What's the next step now?
The next step, and I will be bringing this to you probably, if not the next meeting, the following meeting, would be to get some community input. And that would be the Brownfield Development Committee, of which I have several names, and I will bring those names of people that have given their interest to me, and then we will appoint people. At this point, I have a meeting with Amy Valancourt to talk about the steps associated with this project. And one of them, number one, is getting public input to the design and the desired options for the property. And I think I have maybe about between 15 and 20 names. And I don't think that committee really has to be too small. It's not necessarily a committee that will do the day-to-day activities, but it'll be a group of people that have an interest. I would call it more of a representative committee. You know, in some towns, there's these representative town meetings where you actually get a number of different people that would come, review information, and give input, so that there's some additional oversight into what it is we're doing. So that's what I'm going to be recommending at our next meeting, so that we can look at that and then decide from the list, if not the individuals, perhaps some of the categories that you'd like to have people from various aspects of business or government or environmental knowledge, construction, that you might think would be good for such a committee. So I'd encourage you all to think about that.
My 2 cents is,
Sure.
I wouldn't drag this out too far with the state grant and all that. I think we should make decisions relatively quickly, big picture on the park, and get moving on it. I don't think we should turn this into a
But one of the
Long,
requirements,
drawn
one of
out.
the requirements of the grant, Ben, is that you have public input. So you
No,
have to
I'm
have-
not saying take the public out of it. That's why
Yeah.
we're all here. Just be careful on how many committees you create. Let's, put all the options on the table and come to a sensible conclusion, and, use this state grant and get moving forward on a project that's going to be good.
Good point,
That was all.
good point.
Susan?
Yes.
So, prior to the closing, did we get the indemnification?
Yes. Yes, the
Okay.
day before, EEP told DECD that the applications, and there's 3 separate liability limited policies, I'll call them. I don't know that that's the exact correct word, Rick, but it does limit the town's liability. So we have it for parcel 222, 230, a separate one, and 248, a separate one. In the event that those properties are transacted in another way, they
Right.
each have their individual policy
Okay, yeah.
coverage.
I-
We did
So
get
that's
it.
what, yeah, I recall that was what we talked about
Yes.
when they were here.
So in other words, if we were just hypothetically saying that we, for whatever reason, made it a single piece of property going forward, you'd still have to maintain the locations to know which site could be held liable? I mean, if you change, how does that work? I'm just trying to understand. It's 3 properties, but it doesn't, is it always going to stay 3 properties? You start combining it for its use that you come up with. How does that?
I think you
how
can
does that
change those, again, I don't know what it's a BRRP is what it's called. And that can be amended from time to time. It just, when we talked with the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection, when we talked with Department of Energy, the other Economic and Community Development, they both felt that the most flexible way would be to have the 3
Sure,
separate.
yeah, I'm just trying to understand how you
Well,
end up
if-
using it
if
and what
you-
that does with it.
If you can bind them, it's no different than any private development. They get, just like Elmcrest, they're combining properties, it would just say formerly known as, and the addresses. The umbrella, I feel, would cover, it wouldn't change. Because the description, you're literally just, if you're just combining two, you're combining two. If you're combining all three, the description doesn't change the umbrella. I think it's more that they're just identifying right now what it is, the 3, which is the best way to do it as of now, because there may be a good reason to leave them as 3. If the center site becomes the hot site,
Yeah, sure, I'm not saying.
yeah, then you would want to leave the 3. I would be reluctant to get rid of the deeds at this point. I would leave them alone.
Right, there was a reason, there was a strategy behind doing it with 3.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
you have the ability to sell one, for example,
Yeah.
and if one of them remains hot and 2 of them become clean, there's a lot of you have. I feel more options at this point, leaving
Right.
it alone. But like you said, if you need to for a building,
Yeah, it made
purpose,
sense or whatever,
Right.
that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
Okay, any other questions? Are you ready for the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. Motion carries. The next item is to adopt the meeting schedule for calendar year 2020, and I think it's on your orange sheet.
looks great to me.
No conflicts, Ben?
I look good.
I don't know why there's an asterisk on January. Is yours the same?
Let's see.
Yeah.
I think it's because it was
'Cause it's-
it would be a holiday.
'Cause it's the
Probably a
first.
holiday.
New Year's
It's on the
What's
first.
the number associated with an asterisk? Is it 4?
No,
No, January 1st is that date.
January 1st is a
So it can't
Wednesday.
be.
Yeah, that would be it.
So it's,
So no meeting.
No
No
meeting.
meeting.
Okay.
so we just strike it.
We just have to have it on another day.
I think having one
The
meeting that
15th.
month might be okay.
We'll have one on the 15th.
Okay.
That's another day.
Fine with me.
If we need an emergency meeting.
I
we
was
can
just
always-
saying, if you felt we needed to have another meeting, then we could just have to just pick another day.
It's your pleasure. Do you want to keep it to one meeting or 2?
Why don't you keep it for one now, and if for any reason we need another meeting,
Okay.
you could call a special meeting January 7th. Whatever.
With that, is there a motion to approve the meetings as presented? Luke,
So moved.
is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mike. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Let's see, the next item is number 10, if I'm not mistaken. Adopt the fee schedule for the vendor, peddler, hawker, solicitor, canvasser permit. And I see that Jim has made the appropriate changes to our resolution. Maybe he'd like to read that for us?
Sure. All right, resolution, let's see, it's a resolution from the Board of Selectmen, Town of Portland, November 6, 2019. Fee schedule, vendor, peddler, hawker, solicitor, and canvasser permits. Whereas the schedule for vendor, peddler, hawker, solicitor, or canvasser permit fees shall be set from time to time, and the schedule of such fees shall be filed with the town clerk's office. And whereas pursuant to section 405.3 of the Portland Town Charter, a public hearing was held by the Portland Board of Selectmen. Now therefore be resolved that the below-listed permit fee schedule for vending, peddling, hawking, soliciting, and canvassing in the town of Portland be and is hereby set. $120 for 1 year, $60 for 6 months, $15 for 1 month or less, $0 for nonprofits upon documentation, $0 for U.S. veterans one-time fee exemption upon documentation. Be it further resolved that the above service charges enacted pursuant to section 405.3 shall become effective 14 days after adoption by the Board of Selectmen.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, I had a question.
Lou.
On our concerts, we have a vendor that comes down there for 5 concerts. but it's spread over 2 months. Is that considered $30 or $15?
For 2 months,
Well, it's over a 2-month period, but it's only 5 days. So I'm wondering, is that less than a month?
No.
It's still 2
it's
months.
considered 2 months.
Okay, that answers my question.
In fact, I think the gentleman that runs that truck, I think he takes a 6-month permit out just to cover himself, because he also was thinking about doing a couple of other events in the fall. Good question.
I have a question.
Yes.
I'm just curious, why does it become effective 14 days?
Because that's the rules.
Is that in our charter?
Yeah.
Section.
It gives people notice.
Okay.
It's gonna be in the paper, but it also gives people notice, so you're not changing the fees tomorrow.
Oh, okay,
Budget.
assuming we had other fees. All right, I get it, but this is,
Any fees.
Any.
You set the fees for building permit, for
right,
example. You set the fees for other types of activities, all of which I can't
but
remember.
what made me ask that is that, this is brand new, correct?
Yes.
So I was just wondering, like, well, then why doesn't it go into effect immediately in case somebody wants to?
Because you already have some fees, I think it's $100 right now, for
Oh.
the vendors, hawkers, and so forth.
Oh, we
We
do
already-
have some.
we
fees.
do have
Oh,
some,
okay,
right.
then, well, then that answers.
But we
it.
don't have these
These
fees.
fees.
And we set it up a little bit different
And there's
based
pro-
on a public hearing.
There's probably an appealable, people
I
have
think it
legal
is.
rights, so that,
Right.
Or they could appeal.
think
potentially, I don't know that for a fact, but to me, every law has an appeal process.
Yeah.
And it's,
I was
and
just
it's not-
curious, I mean, that's all. Fine.
Was there a motion made and seconded?
Yes.
Okay. There was one other item, just the title of this. Is that okay? Fee schedule, vendor, peddlers?
Hawker just seems kind of like.
It's the
crude.
term, though, of
I
the
know.
ordinance, yeah, I guess it's okay.
Yeah, and it's consistent with the rest of the language inside.
Yes.
So, carpetbaggers.
Yeah, I know.
What was your saying?
Well, I just wasn't sure if but it says, just the same question you had, it says fee schedule for vendor, peddler, hawker, solicitor. Maybe you should just say fee schedule. It's fine. I think it's fine the way it is. Strike what I said. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Appointments to boards and commissions. I think we'll have quite a few, because the elections were just held, so a lot of our boards and commission terms are expiring. So we'll be bringing you some of the suggested changes. I think your respective committees should take a look at them, and we will be appointing and reappointing our members to the various boards and commissions. So have a little bit of homework to do to take a look at those things. And typically, one of our selectmen help with that, with the respective committees. If you have any questions, call the office and Michelle will be happy to help you. So I don't think there's any appointments tonight. We'll be making quite a few for December, because that's when okay.
Okay.
So we'll move on to refunds of excess payments. Jim?
Sure. I'll make a motion that we refund $53.28 to Daimler Trust.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I'll make a motion that we refund the amount of $170.40 to Vault Trust.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries.
I make a motion that we refund the amount of $27.58 to Daniel R. Armstrong.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries.
I make a motion that we refund the amount of $67.05 to Lindsay A. Armstrong.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries.
I make a motion that we refund the amount of $21.20 to Yvette S. Smith.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries.
And I make a motion that we refund the amounts of $173.34 and $216.25 to Toyota Lease Trust.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Any status reports tonight?
Guess we could give a small part update. I believe that they're intending to, and I think they're out there today, they're going to complete the paving of the parking lot, and I think as well as Strickland, with the exception of the pole that right now sticks in Strickland, which will have to be completed after the pole is moved. I'm hoping that they will complete the playground and the splash pad fixtures this week. They were waiting on a pole replacement for the playground. I don't know if it came in yet or not, but I guess I'll probably find out Friday because I'll be out there Friday. But that should be completed, and really at that point, what's left is the work on the building. That'll really be what will be left at that point. I know that there was a meeting today, and I know Kitch attended, that they were talked about the equipment for the exercise area. So that's moving along, and hopefully we'll be working on it so we can prepare for early spring to get it in so we could open the park. So.
You have a comment on that, Kitch? You could go to the microphone. Thank you for volunteering to help with this.
You're welcome. It was a very good meeting. We got to see drawings, and the group actually made some decisions based on which pieces of equipment would be most effective and most available for people of all different needs and wants. Michael, your name was mentioned as a part of people who might teach or at least demonstrate how to use the equipment. So most of the pieces have multi-uses and for all ages and people with or without disabilities. There was also some minor discussion on if there's ever a time when there's more monies, could that area be expanded? And so with some view toward maybe another purchase of equipment in the future, or adding certain pieces. We also heard very good news that 3 of the pieces that were on the recommended list are on sale right now at 50% off. So I don't know if Nate got to you at all. Our only concern would be if we were to purchase them now at the 50% off, we'd have to store them because they won't be installed until springtime. They're not going to do any installation right now. The 50% off brings the cost of the 3 major pieces, I feel, down to a very reasonable cost. No one seemed to know what was left in contingency, the exact number, and how that's being identified as far as equipment goes. And there wasn't a clear view about that sidewalk that's shown in the drawing. Does that sidewalk still exist or not? The sidewalk near the semicircle.
Sidewalk near the semicircle where the fitness
Where
equipment.
the equipment's going to go, yeah.
I thought that it was. I'll have
The
to
one
take
that
a
lies
look.
out around it?
Yeah, I thought it was all.
So all we saw was the semicircle, and there clearly was a sidewalk there, because some discussion was surrounding the wood chip and the capability of people in wheelchairs to access equipment, and how that equipment could potentially be placed so there would be some access.
So I think the reason why, and actually there was one thing I forgot because I don't think they've done it yet, is that area is probably still in flux because they want to do the final paving around that building.
Yeah.
So they're not going to complete any of that area of the work of the walkway, and because they're going to be paving in that area. So I would think that they'll probably do the final paving of any of the areas around there during the course of this week, I would hope.
Okay.
So I thought it was still, I could have sworn when I looked at it, I saw the stone there to be ready
There's still
to-
going to be some sidewalk,
that's what I thought.
a curve of sidewalk right there.
Yeah.
Okay, so Nate would probably need that information, because as he begins to think about placement, or the whole committee, about placement of some of the pieces of equipment, so they would be reachable if a wheelchair on the sidewalk.
No,
right?
I know what you're saying.
Okay.
I'll double check with them, but I could have sworn there was a sidewalk all the way around. And with regards to the equipment, we actually did that last year. We bought the playground equipment, and the town garage, they stored at the town garage the entire time. Again, because we were trying to make sure we didn't miss, because the prices were going to go up in the new year.
Right.
And so we had done that. So Nate had sent me a text message saying that there was that situation. So we will certainly find a way to
He said we'll rent the town
50% off.
garage.
Yeah.
Even if we were to probably rent a storage unit. I'm sure it still would be greater savings than
That's
what
what they
we
did.
eventually
But
spent.
they-
Yeah.
And I would guess the equipment, well, it may take up similar space, but there was a lot of playground equipment, and they
Yeah.
were able to store it. So you'd like to think we'll find, they rented a storage unit for the playground equipment. That was part of it.
So thank you for the
Certainly.
invitation to that meeting. It felt good to be included. Thanks.
Any other? Yes.
I just had a question for either Kitch or for Ralph. What is 50% in savings of that equipment? Is it over $20,000? So my next question, as you may perceive, is that I'm trying to save money for the town and be good stewards of our tax dollars. If in fact the 20,000 or so is enough to purchase solar panels for the building, and it's still within budget, especially with maybe some money in contingency, could we look into that?
I would say you have to have a basketball court before you get your solar panels, but then I would say yes. How's that? I think that's more valuable to the age range of a park for the people going there than the solar panels. But then I would say you're good.
I was thinking you should have a ninja park.
I think that these are all good ideas. I think it's actually, I think we should be looking at solar, we should be looking at this.
Yes.
But we have been living and dying about trying to manage the contingency number. So first and foremost, let's see what we actually look at contingency.
Yeah.
And then we can actually see what we have. I think we really want to see what we've got with remaining funding, what's not allocated. And then that's really gonna, I think, advise us as to what we can do.
Yeah, and I would.
And to answer Ben's question, the money that we save on electricity will build the basketball court.
A super basketball.
So I just
So-
want to know that before I left, I did tell Nate that he couldn't listen to Tom Robinson tell him no.
There you go.
Okay, he's new and he needs to know that he can tell Tom Robinson he needs this.
Yes.
And I don't want to speak for Susan, but I have a feeling she'll find a garage to put this in somewhere.
Yeah.
If we're
Yeah, we gotta
saving 20
find
grand,
one.
she's pretty
I'll
creative.
find one.
I did have
We
one
still
more.
have tobacco
What's your
bars, right?
address?
There's a tobacco bar someplace.
No, we'll find.
Yeah, and with regards to contingency, the reason why, I mean, we have a number, but there's an item on there that has a significant impact to the number. So until we have clarification on that item,
And, you know,
given you just told me 20,000 less than, again, the fitness circuit is not of the concern. It's basketball courts and solar panels that are concerns.
And what, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Jim.
I was gonna say, and going back to one more item for the park, we talked about, when we did the presentation on the 25th with the status update, there were a couple of open items that had to do with placement of transformer and a back and forth that was going on, as well as pole line relocation. As all things seem to happen is when we actually got everybody on site at the same time, which we've been trying to do. We had a very good discussion that included Eversource, the town, and we were able to get, I think, a pretty good accommodation in terms of how we're gonna relocate the pole line, do it in a way that's actually gonna be more efficient in terms of not having to place an extra pole for lighting the intersections properly. So I think we saved one pole with that is what we were looking at. End up saving a tree based on what we were looking at. And then another one for the aesthetics internally on the park is we got concurrence with the original requested location for the transformer, which means it'll now be set down. It won't be basically, it won't be sticking up along the pole line. So it was actually a very good meeting, I think, across the board. So
And I'll give Ben kudos because he suggested location of the pole that changed the outcome of the discussion. So
and you know what, Ralph doesn't get enough credit either. Ralph, good job going to these parks. And if you want to write in your notes, don't forget where they're now moving that transformer pad, we should switch the 2 van ADA spots to that side. I said it in the field, I don't know if you heard it, but that's what they
I
need to
heard
do.
him say it.
That way
can't
you end
remember
up
if they
with,
said they were gonna-
16
Yeah.
feet. Just make sure they stripe it the correct way. There's no rules against which side you put the van spots on. Put the van spots on where the transformer side is. Just remember that when they're striping. Yeah.
it was a good meeting because we kept running into that, we would have it established and then they'd come out and it would change and it was just, so it worked out really well, so it's good.
Yeah, and Eversource needs to be, thanked for that. You agree, Susan?
Yeah.
They did.
Sure, we can find
Yeah.
Very nice. Okay, when we start into our new term, I'm going to put together some of these things that we've talked about, not all of them, obviously, but we have many projects that are ongoing. We need to do another update on some of these projects, and I think that this board will need to make some of the decisions going forward, whether or not there's going to be the basketball court, whether or not we're going to be able to have the monies to do that, as well as solar panels, as well as maybe some other equipment, and so forth and so on. We need an update on this project from the finance office. So we'll be working on that from that perspective, because it'll be more or less a winter shutdown for a lot of the work. We won't be getting updates so much on work, I don't suspect, but rather on the maintenance of the monies and how we're going to decide what kinds of projects, based on that budget, remaining dollars will be allocated. I'll also bring to you, as I said a few minutes ago, how we're going to manage the riverfront project. Try to come up with the plan. I'm meeting, as I said, with Amy Valancourt, and she has done these projects many times before, so we'll be following a template that she will assist with. I also will have some information from Brainerd Place. There is some concerns that they have as far as the dates of the assistance agreement. They did wait 1 year for, and I use that term loosely, what I really meant to say is the fixed assessment agreement. And what they asked, at least, and they haven't given me the exact details, but because they waited a year for the traffic permit to come from the state, they are a little behind. So they may be asking for some grace period. I need to get that from them and bring that to you. And then I also ask that we develop, and again, we won't have all the answers to this, but we know that we need to start looking for water sources, and we need to start looking at how the MDC contract for water will be promulgated going forward. That's a 6 to 7, even less years project. So we need to start now. And I think that's a very, very important project that we'll have to look at going forward. There's also some private development projects that are ongoing, so I'll ask Mary to come in and give some updates on that. We saw some tree removals at Route 66 and 17. That is the Dairy Queen project. I know there's some other projects on Route 66 that Ben has been involved with. I'd like to have an update on some of those, as well as the Chris Cody Golf Driving Range on Route 17. There are many very valuable projects going on, so I'm going to try to put them together into a template that we will be able to monitor every meeting that we have. Because I think if we come up with a good schedule for these projects, we'll actually be able to, as Ben pointed out earlier, tick off 1, 2, 3, 4, and be able to move these projects along and not get mired in some of the discussions that can really slow us down. You're going to have to also give some thought to whether or not you want to proceed with a dog park. I will warn you that is another project, and I think you'll have a better perspective once you take a look at some of the other projects that you have in terms of timing, and that's something that I want you all to take due consideration on. While we're going to have a new member joining us, the majority, vast majority, 6 of us will remain, and I know that Ben, you'll be able to come back if we need any additional assistance on some of these things. So, I think we're in good shape to move forward with a lot of these projects, and I want to thank everybody for their work, because it's a tremendous amount of work that's going on. Any comments on that? We will come forward on the 19th, where you'll be sworn in by our town clerk, and you're invited to bring your families with you if you would like to, or friends. I'll invite the other boards and commissions to also come to be sworn in. It's usually a nice night where we will be able to have perhaps some refreshments and some opportunity to socialize a little bit. And we'll also typically get some information about how you want to run your meetings. And it was suggested to me that we take a look at whether we want to limit public comment, those kinds of things going forward, whether there's a reasonable way to run your meetings. So give it some thought, and I'll put together some suggestions that can always be amended. Am I forgetting anything?
You covered it well.
I'll look forward to that. Informal discussion, I think that's next. Public comment, any public comment? If not, I don't have anything on follow-up. Other than these are additional projects that you may want to table and schedule. They're tabled projects that you may need to schedule, whether or not you want to revise your charter, whether or not you want to revise your ethics ordinance, whether or not you want to, and I do know you want to continue and complete the land swap with the Exchange Club. These are things that we need to proceed with. So give it some
Can
thought.
I
Yes.
ask a question about the land swap? Did Lou or Mike meet with?
Yes. We met with Jim Hill and George Law and Frank Kehoe. And in meeting with them, they brought forth the survey, similar to the survey they had before, and they're in agreement with making that land swap with the Board of Education. That same day, Board of Selectmen, that same day, Kerry Olson was in Susan's office on another issue, on other issues, and she met with us prior to that meeting to go, when I say met with us, she met with Sue and I, right? And we talked about the land swap, we talked about trying to move this forward as much as possible. Kerry would talk to George, George would talk to Kerry, whatever it needed to do as far as the legal quit claim, the Mylar survey that needed to be submitted to the town clerk, and any other legal items that need to be taken care of. She was going to do a title search. So if all of that can be done with a reasonable amount of time, it looks like we could probably have a swap before January 1st.
You have to have a public hearing and a town meeting.
Yeah.
Because too many of us are members of the Exchange Club.
Yeah, so it might be after January, or in January.
So are the attorneys talking about, are they doing the, I mean, are they drawing up documents?
Kerry's going to drop the paperwork and do the title search.
Yeah.
And then once she has that completed, she'll talk to George. And then whatever needs to be done after that will be done. It's a fairly easy procedure because it's a quitclaim form.
We do that?
And then once that's done, you just go to the town clerk and you file the papers.
We may need an 824, you mean?
Yeah.
Because we're purchasing, we're swapping property, but we're not doing anything to the property. So
Doesn't matter.
we'll check on
Any
that.
transfer. But the map may have changed since.
Yes.
Just, double
We may need to refer to planning and zoning for under 824.
Yeah.
We can do that.
Mhm.
So it may be longer than January. That's why I said these projects need to be scheduled so that you know in your flow chart what needs to be done, because otherwise they get mired. We'll work on that. You know what I'm saying?
So, and then along with that, Rick and I had spent some time at a meeting at the
Connecticut River Conservancy.
Connecticut River Conservancy, of which Rick talked to the people later to talk more about the potential of a launch area off of that area that would be then swapped. And they're very much supportive of that. And they're one of the agencies that can give you the approval of doing something like that, or they could sometimes stop you because you are doing something that you shouldn't do.
Yeah, I would say they can't officially give you approval. They give you the guidance. And they're all about one of their mantras, so to speak, is public river access, beside all their conservation measures.
Very good.
So, they're on board anyway. They know we exist.
Thank you for doing that. Any other items you want to bring up tonight? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Did that one.
Okay,
Last
thank you.
motion. Yeah, last one.
The last word in there.
Oh, good.
This is, we'll see where we go with it. But I called, I just made some calls. And this is some of the information that Lisa Zerio had given me. Who's
Okay.
the Park and Rec director from last year. Who used to be the Park and Rec director in Rocky Hill. In Rocky Hill, she helped build the first